for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, 'cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, 'cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K, 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 S-I-C-K.
All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, 'cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, 'cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K, 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 S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. With Tony Marinaro.
55 seconds left in the penalty, a minute and 27 seconds left in regulation time. Boston 4, Montreal 3. Lafleur coming out rather gingerly on the right side. He gives it into Lemaire, back to Lafleur. Oh!
The sickest Montreal Canadiens podcast.
You're in the ball!
Sports entertainment like no other.
Rejoint, on lui fait perdre la rondelle, une passe devant. Et c'est le dégagement, et ce sera la victoire des Canadiens. Stanley pour les Canadiens, leur 23e de l'histoire.
You found the dogs! John, you found the dogs! He found the dogs! And all together, they worked a young team to the top. And now, a 24th Stanley Cup banner will hang from the rafters of the famous Forum in Montreal. The Canadiens win the Stanley Cup!
Brought to you by Energy Transportation Group. Driven to be different. La Tibi. Embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination. It's gonna be sick.
Marinaro, the Sick Podcast on this Tuesday, December 10. Hope everyone is doing well, watching on YouTube Live and on Facebook Live. Thank you very much. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel yet, please do so. We're going to get an update on the Board of Governors meeting because Eric Engels of Sportsnet and Sportsnet.ca is actually there taking in the meetings, doing some reporting. Well, not taking in the meetings next to the Board of Governors, obviously, but he's there doing his reporting work and journalistic work, and we're going to touch base with him in about a minute or two. Not before I talk to you about Playground, proud sponsor of the Sick Podcast, and boy, are we very proud to have them ring in 2025 with glitter, groove, and glam at Playgrounds. New Year's Eve party. Get your party bracelet and access the excitement across every floor starting at 5 p.m. Bracelets are required for entry for just $20. You'll receive $20 in free play and a glass of Prosecco to toast the new year. Bracelets are also required for poker action on the third floor. Get ready for an unforgettable night of music, dancing, and exclusive gaming fun. Celebrate in style only at Playground. Also brought to you in part by the beer that's right behind me right now as we speak, Bittt Tibi, who launched their ultra lager, refreshing, thirst-quenching beer, perfect for the chilly winter days. Only 90 calories, 2 grams of carbs, 4% ABV per can. Available in a pack of 6 and 12 in grocery stores all around the province of Quebec. It's ultra light and ultra refreshing, and also brought to you in part by Energy Transportation Group. They are a top fleet employer when it comes to transport across the country, across Canada, and they're also leading full-service logistics provider serving all of North America, driven to be different. That is Energy Transportation Group. Without further ado, I bring in Eric Engels to talk Montreal Canadiens hockey and, once again, an update from the Board of Governors meeting. How are you?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Very, very good. What's going on at the Board of Governors meetings?
Well, first of all, they're over now. They took place over the last 2 days. General CBA update from Bettman to the owners and governors about, how they plan to approach those talks, which obviously they weren't going to share details with that publicly.
Yeah.
But what was clear from Bettman coming out of those meetings was a further confidence expressed in the relationship with the PA that they will get a CBA done well in advance of the current one expiring in September of 2026. And I think that's obviously welcome news for all hockey fans who saw labor stoppages, 3 times in the last couple of decades. And the relationship was pretty frosty between both sides. Bettman's really confident. The big takeaway that he said, as many people have speculated, the cap could jump by more than 5%, which is currently planned for in the CBA, right? Like it's supposed to go from 88.5 to 92.5. But there's incentive on both sides of this, both from the owners and the players, to get the cap, not have a dramatic bump next year, but for it to go up, roughly $5 million more than the 92. But so a total would be 10, which would be the highest bump we've seen in a very long time. Bettman said that it wouldn't necessarily have to be negotiated in the new CBA for that to happen, that they could have discussions and potentially initiate that change before they even have a CBA. That's the first time he's really put anything but cold water onto those types of talks. So that was probably the biggest development of the day.
Well, look, I've had enough of the lockouts, and the more I think of it, I don't even know how we were able to do our jobs back then for those 3 NHL work stoppages. It was kind of crazy. COVID, everything like that. I mean, there's been some challenging times. There's no doubt about it. I'm curious to see, and I would imagine that the answer is going to be every team's going to have a different approach. When the cap goes up, if teams are going to attribute more of their money to top 2-line players, or they're actually going to end up attributing more money to their 3rd and 4th line players. Because as you know, when the cap was a certain number, a lot of people would say, well, you can't give more than $1.5 million to a player playing on the 4th line. I'm wondering if now it's going to be with the cap going up. Well, you know what? You can probably have a player at $2.8, $2.9, $3 million on your 4th line. Now, sometimes teams get stuck with back contracts. They don't have a choice. I get that. But I'm curious to see what the strategy is going to be by most teams.
Listen, everybody's going to get a bit more, right? That's the benefit of a $10 million surge in the cap. And then, moving forward, it continuously growing as revenue related to hockey continues to grow and the partnership continues to be 50-50 between the players and the owners. I'm not sure that the split will be different with the new CBA, and we'll see how teams approach it on an individual basis. If some of the lower market teams will continue to have internal caps and keep things that way, right? So it's your guess is as good as mine in terms of the strategy for team building, and I think we'll see different teams approach this in different ways. But there's no question that the guys on the higher end of this are going to. Sorry, someone's just knocking on my door.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, no. Teams are going to approach this in different ways depending on what their internal budgets are and this and that. And it'll be interesting to see what strategies they take. But you're right. The days of talking about $2.5 to $3 million players playing in the bottom 6 as being too expensive for what they are probably going to be behind us as this continues to grow and grow, because the revenue is up towards $6.6 billion is projected after this. That's US dollars with all the conversions and depending on where the Canadian dollar is at. And that's, substantial growth for the league. And there's another thing that nobody's talking about right now because it's not front burner, as Bettman would say. But once a CBA is agreed on, and I believe it'll be agreed on as early as this summer, then the talk of expansion is going to come back raging at full volume. And look, I think a lot of fans might look at it and say, there's 32 teams in the league right now. Why do we need more? I think you're going to see it go to 34 relatively quickly after the new CBA is signed. And there's a couple billion reasons as to why that'll happen, right? Like the
which will be shared among the owners.
Yeah, the expansion fees are going to be enormous, right? So there's the $6.6 billion in hockey-related revenue, but you could have a windfall of upwards of $4 billion coming into the league and being shared among the owners, increasing the health of each franchise. If 2 more teams come into this by the time we're talking about that, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And I think that's a big part of Bettman's legacy here.
I hear you. Bettman said that expansion is not on the table right now, but I hear you that it's going to be on the table once the new deal is signed. I think that would be great news for the owners, all the NHL owners. I think it would be great news for, give or take, 46 to 60 other hockey players. I think it would be also great news for fans of those cities, of those 2 markets where those teams will go. But for the rest of the hockey fans and NHL fans, I don't think it's good news. To me, all it says is the product's going to be diluted.
I don't see it that way. I think the product, because I think the product is better than it ever has been right now. And I don't think the addition of 2 teams as hockey continues to grow as a sport and the skill level continues to rise and the speed of the game continues to rise and the way it's played continues to be as exciting as it is in the playoffs, that by creating another 2 teams worth of players, we're going to be watering down the competition. I think it's only going to ramp up personally. And I also think that the exciting part about it is we're going to start having a different discussion on playoff format and how many teams will be included, right? You've got 16 of 32 currently that make it. I think there's a lot of people around the game and some people opposed to it, but a lot of people that would like to see more teams included right now. But if 2 more teams come to the league, you're going to have to expand the playoffs. And I just think that creates more interest down the stretch of a regular season. It creates more anti-tanking mechanisms. And it's a sport that will demand more and more skill to be introduced, and you're creating that opportunity with the expansion of the league. The financial reasons are obvious, but I don't think the product has been watered down by 32 teams being in the league right now.
Yeah.
So I can see why that would be the case with 2 more joining.
That will be interesting, because if you end up having a couple of more teams make the playoffs, or if you end up giving the first place team in the East, the first place team in the West a bye in the first round, hockey's never been like that. And traditionalists are going to go absolutely nuts because the Stanley Cup is the hardest trophy to win, right? And
they will anyway.
It's a marathon, right? And I think some people will look at it and say, well, no, you can't end up winning the Stanley Cup if you only win 3 series. So I'm going to be interested to see what the playoff structure is going to look like. So another thing is 84 games.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that's definitely something that will be discussed. It's something that Bettman didn't want to talk about today, but there is an appetite, certainly among general managers, owners, potentially the players too. We don't have anybody formally commenting from their side, and not that Bettman and Bill Daly are commenting on it right now, but you'll see the schedule. I think we're looking at decreasing the amount of preseason games that get played, and potentially adding 2 regular season games to make up some gate revenue that you'd lose doing that, potentially advancing the schedule a little bit, though Bettman poured cold water on that today. It's just something that will be discussed as we move forward. Just getting back to the playoff thing, you expand I know how the traditionalists will feel, and they'll throw their arms up about any changes that get made in the game.
Yeah.
I don't see any downside at all to expanding the playoff format. I think if you were to add 2 teams per conference with 34 in the league, you would be creating a situation where you would be engaging 4 to 6 more franchises and fan bases down the stretch of the regular season into games that become much more meaningful than they otherwise would be. And I think you're also taking some of those teams out of the whole tank mix. I just think it's way more exciting. I think from a business standpoint, it makes so much more sense for the NHL to go that way, despite the resistance from Bettman to do that at 32 teams. I don't see the downside. I really don't. I can't understand how anybody would, to be honest with you.
Montreal Canadiens talk starting with the team, but just before that, Jeff Molson was there at the Board of Governors meeting, and I think a third of the league owners were there. I saw his name included in the mix. Do you have a chance to catch up with him? What's going on?
Yeah, we caught up with him. We got his thoughts on the Canadiens in general, their start to the season, where they stand in relation to the expectations that were set forth prior to the season, with everybody saying they wanted to be in the mix. You know, Molson expressed his disappointment with the start and the tough patch through the early part or late part of October leading into November, but feels that the team is playing better of late. Absolutely reiterated his commitment to the long-term plan, the people running that plan, and Jeff Gorton and Kent Hughes, and didn't seem to have any sort of pessimism of where the Canadiens find themselves. Ironically, you know, the whole in the mix trope that was bandied about so much before the season, with the way the Canadiens started and where they find themselves today, you could argue they're in the mix. They're last in the Eastern Conference in the standings, but they're 4 points out of a playoff spot with having played one more game than the New York Rangers. And there's nobody who's completely out of it here. Now, no, I'm not sitting here suggesting the Canadiens are making the playoffs. And I'm not sitting here suggesting that by the time the end of the season rolls around, they'll be close to or as far into the mix as they would have liked to have been before it started. But they've won what? 3 of the last 4. Is it 4 of their last 5?
Yeah, it's 3 of their last 4. Is it 4 of their last 5? Okay,
3 of their last 4. They played Pittsburgh. They played Pittsburgh on Thursday with a chance to win 4 or 5 on this homestand.
Yeah,
they'll go to Winnipeg, where it'll feel a bit like a home game for Patrik Laine, and we know it was really good for him to come back with 5 games on the schedule to be played at the Bell Center, where his level clearly raised in the preseason before it ended abruptly the way it did.
The timing couldn't have been better. They needed to be re-energized, the team, the city, the fan base, the coaching staff, everyone. He's been like a breath of fresh air. It's like going out, making a major deal, giving up nothing in return. That's what it feels like.
I just feel like the Canadiens are not so the way they started the season, there's no looking at it any other way than the clear regression in several departments. Where they've come to since then is much closer to being the team that they wanted to be. And as soon as they became their full roster with Laine's return and everybody being healthy, they look a lot more like the team that we expected to see this year, with the small mistakes per game notwithstanding, right? They've got to clean those up, but they've cleaned up their defensive zone quite a bit. They have, their special teams have been excellent, and Sam Montembeault's game is trending upward.
You're right.
Where are they going from here? Like, that's the real question, because honestly, they look like a team that is going to be exactly what they described prior to the season as one that could be in the mix.
Well, Eric, what a difference a week makes. Let me explain. Samuel Montembeault looks fantastic in the last week.
He looks good.
Okay. I probably could have had a goal versus the Washington Capitals. He's looked fantastic. The wins that they had versus the New York Islanders, the Nashville Predators, and last night versus the Anaheim Ducks, as average as those teams can be, I think the difference was Samuel Montembeault. The other difference was Patrik Laine. There was a big question mark as to which Patrik Laine were the Montreal Canadiens getting, and how long was it going to take him before you could put in fifth gear after returning from the injury. He's still not at fifth gear at 5.5. Neither are his line mates, but he's doing what he does best. He's scoring goals on the power play. Xhekaj has played fantastic hockey in the last week, and I think we can all start seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. He's really, really turned it around. The defensive zone coverage, the man-to-man hybrid, they look like chickens with no head in so many games this year, where they gave up 6 goals and they gave up 7 goals and they gave up 8 goals and they gave up 5 goals in one period. They looked awful. They didn't know if they were coming or going. It looks like the guys are starting to understand the system and starting to understand how to play it. So I find that a lot of players are starting to look better. Caden Gooley's always looked good, but he's really upped up his compete level. Josh Anderson has had a bounce back season, still hasn't put up the numbers I would think he would want to put up from an offensive standpoint, but he really seems to have found a home with Dvorak and Gallagher. And Anderson, for me last night, he was the unsung hero. He's the guy that nobody's talking about, because everyone talked about Montembeault and everyone's talking about Patrik Laine and everyone's talking about the shootout. Josh Anderson came to play last night.
Well, listen, I agree with a lot of what you just said. I would even suggest that you're talking about a week. I think it's really been a month that Xhekaj has been playing really well. I also think it's been about a month that the Canadiens have looked much more sorted in their own zone, with the exception of games in Boston, against Vegas, and the first period of last night's game against Anaheim, or at least the second half of the first period of last night against Anaheim. Dvorak, Anderson, Gallagher, I would say the same thing about all three of them, which is that the way they've played should probably lead to more goals from that line. But the way they've played has not only helped halt momentum going the other way for longer periods of time, they seem to be the line that can stabilize things when things are going against the Canadiens. They're also the line that starts the momentum for this team. And I think, and this was my theory from the start when Patrik Laine was acquired, that the bottom 6 of the Canadiens, as expensive as it might be, they can afford to pay those players that money right now in those positions. And it was supposed to be a strength from the start, and it pretty much has been, and that it's only been reinforced as a strength with Laine coming back. And if that second line, look, they were inconsistent within the game last night, right? Like they got a goal from Laine, the power play. They got a goal from Dach early in the second period, with all 3 players essentially making a good play. They had some ups and downs throughout the game.
If I can add, Kirby Dach drew the penalty that led to Patrik Laine's power play goal.
Yeah. No, he had some great moments last night's game. He had some not so great moments too. If they can just find good moments that outweigh bad ones game after game, it really reinforces the strength of the bottom 6 and also takes a lot of pressure off Suzuki's line, which they've produced a lot of points in the last 7 games. So, there's a lot of positive there. It's not perfect. We're not at a place where we can call it great. But the results speak for themselves. The process is a lot healthier than it's been and what we saw in the first month of the season. And there are signs to be encouraged, especially with Montembeault's game surging upward.
Yeah, it's funny because I brought up the line of Dvorak, Gallagher, and Anderson. I think they missed 4 breakaways in the last 2 games. I think Josh Anderson got stopped twice. Dvorak got stopped once. Gallagher got stopped once. So with a little bit of luck, they would have been on the score sheet. They would have scored some goals. A shout out to Betway. Go all the way with Betway and get a free bet up to $200 if your first bet loses, of course. Scan the QR code on the screen or click on the link in the details section to create an account and redeem your welcome offer. Offer is only available for new customers. Terms and conditions apply. Offer is not available in Ontario. Must be 18 years old and over. And please play responsibly. All right, okay. Speaking of the second line, here's Kirby Dach on getting his goal. And after that, we're going to play Juraj Slafkovsky on regaining confidence. Let's hear from both of them.
It's nice. I guess that it's kind of the only way one was going to go in, I guess, was to have the whole open net in front of me. So it was nice. Slav made a good play, and then it's definitely encouraging. And yeah, I think you feel the family and the love and the trust we have in each other as the teammates and what we are in this locker room when guys are happy for other guys' success. And it's real nice of everybody to kind of help me through the stretch I've kind of gone through.
I got apple, but no. I was happy, because I feel like when you score a couple goals, you get your confidence back, and pretty much that's what he needs, that's what I need, and I'm happy that, goals like this, when the goalie leaves a puck behind the net and you get to score, those are the ones where you get your confidence and then you feel better, a little better about yourself, and you can actually make plays, and it looks better overall.
Yeah, Dostal fumbles with the puck behind the net. Juraj Slafkovsky picks it up. He gives it to Kirby Dach, who just has to shoot it into an empty net. Marty St. Louis after the game on Kirby Dach's game.
I didn't like our first period from a lot of guys, but I actually felt like there was something about Docker during that first period, and he still ends up with a minus, right? So you feel for him a little bit, and sometimes in life when you do the right things and stuff, you get a bounce. I think he got a bounce on his goal, and sometimes that's all you need.
Kirby Dach had a giveaway on Anaheim's first goal. We saw Marty St. Louis' reaction once the giveaway took place. RDS basically zeroed in on it yesterday, and it was oh no, that's a bad place to give up a giveaway, of course, with the other team gaining speed through the neutral zone. And next thing you know, 10 seconds later, the puck's in the net. But once again, he had a game of ups and downs. But here's Marty St. Louis. You could tell, Kirby Dach, you listen to him, the support, the family, Marty St. Louis talking about it. This guy's gone through some tough times. I mean, this year, last year with the injury, and he wants it bad, but he's such an important piece of the puzzle, Eric, because obviously when they made that deal for him, they had identified him as a top 6 player and down the middle of the ice for this team. They can't put all the pressure on Suzuki and Caulfield to score 5-on-5. They need a second line going. And on that note, we'll get to Jeff Gorton in just about a minute. But last night, he got a big goal for that team. It was lucky. It was given to him on a silver platter, but he got it.
Let's see where it takes him. Because I'm going to tell you right now that this year, this next 12 months will be the most determinant period of Kirby Dach's career. Like
the next 12 months or the rest of the season?
The next 12 months. Like from December to December.
So quick question for you, if you don't mind, and sorry to stop you here, but let's just say Kirby Dach continues to have a difficult season.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you get to the off season.
Mm-hmm.
You're Jeff Gorton and you're Kent Hughes. They're discussing the Canadiens' second line. They still say, Kirby had a bad season, but it's your first season back after that really, really bad ACL, MCL. We'll be patient one more year, or they say, we can't chance it. We'd love to make the playoffs next year. Let's do something in this offseason.
No, I'm saying they'll be patient until the next December when they can make a full evaluation on where listen, I'm not speaking for them. I'm giving you my opinion. And my opinion is that the next 12 months are the most determinant in Kirby Dach's career and his future with the Montreal Canadiens. Gordon and Hughes have to rush to any decisions in his case. He's got another year under contract after this one. It's at a pretty reasonable number that doesn't handcuff them in any way. The logical side of anybody's brain, whether you're the manager of the Canadiens or you're you or me sitting here, knew that this was going to be a tough comeback for this player to make, to get back to what he looked like to start last season. He really looked like he was ready to turn the corner, and to give up on that potential halfway through, not even halfway through his return from that injury, which again was not just a torn ACL, but a torn ACL and MCL in his knee, would be rushing to judgment and even go beyond this entire season. Like, I expect that Dach is going to have some better moments than what we've seen through the first 27 games. Okay.
Yeah.
I expect that as we get towards the end of this season, he will look close, much closer than he does right now to the player that we saw before that injury happened. But what's the rush to make a determination here? To me, it's you go into next season, no matter what happens, with him having the opportunity to prove he's much closer to being the player that he was at the start of last season than he was at the start of this one. Because even if you get Michael Hage into the fold, maybe Michael Hage signs with the Canadiens at the end of his college season in Michigan, and maybe he starts in Laval or looks ready to play some games with the Canadiens, whatever it is. You don't have to rush Hage into position. You have Dach there. He's under contract. He's got 1 year left. But if by next December nothing looks different and he's just proving to be a guy who won't be a reliable second-line center of the future, then you start to consider the other possibilities, which are not re-signing him and potentially trading him. So this is a really important year. And you say he wants it. I agree with you. He wants it. But we're going to find out how badly he wants it.
Yeah.
Because there is a whole – you think about what he's had to come back from and what he's had to deal with. There was a level of investment that he needed to make to give himself the best chance to get it back. And I don't know how he'll feel about that looking back, at the summer and whatever it is. I think there would be a great benefit to Kirby Dach if he was willing to stick around Montreal next summer, to stay with the Canadiens, to be around their staff, to rehabilitate and train, and give himself the greatest opportunity he could possibly have going into a contract year to be the best version of himself. I hope I'm not mistaken here and that he doesn't have 2 years left, but I'm pretty sure it's one after this one, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm not looking at right now. I think it's one after this one.
I believe so. Yes, because he's been here for 2 years, right? Yeah, it was a 4-year deal.
It was a 4-year deal. Just now, I'm questioning when it kicked in because.
Yeah, no, it kicked in 2022, 2023, then 2023, 2024, this year, 2024, 2025, next year, 2025, 2026, a salary that pays him $3.362,500, so almost $3.4 million on the cap, and then the year after, he'll be an RFA at age 25.
Right. So I have no doubt that Kirby put everything he thought he needed to into the offseason to give himself the best chance to come back. And even if he had done everything right, it would still be as challenging as it's appeared on some nights. Mm-hmm. But maybe there's a whole other level to get to. And maybe the opportunity coming up this summer, going into the last year of his contract, would be to stay in Montreal, work with the Canadiens people, work with Adam Nicholas, work with their trainers, and give himself an even better chance than he ever thought he could. And I'm not saying don't go home for some point and don't be with your friends, and everybody earns the right to enjoy their summer here, okay? But there are some players that have made that investment to stick around Montreal, and we've seen it pay off for them. And I wonder if they can convince him to do that, because I'm sure they would like to see it.
I don't know if you had a chance to hear Jeff Gorton, who was interviewed yesterday on Amazon Prime, who had the game on Monday night in English, of course. But for those who didn't, some interesting things coming from the Executive Vice President of Hockey Operations of the Montreal Canadiens, Jeff Gorton. Let's listen in to the entire conversation, which lasted just over 3 minutes.
Hockey 2-2 the score here after 2 periods of play. Andy Petrillo, Blake Golden, and now joining us, Executive Vice President of Hockey Operations for the Montreal Canadiens, Jeff Gorton. Great to have you here on set. It also has to be great to see 2 guys on your team score tonight who have some great comeback stories in Patrik Laine and Kirby Dach. How does it feel to see them get on the scoreboard and feel good about themselves?
Yeah, I mean, Kirby in particular, to have him score that goal, been a long time coming, and we're trying to, Marty's trying to get that second line, take a little pressure off Caulfield and Suzuki. So to have that line do what they've done, I know that Laine was on the power play, but if we get a second scoring line, it'll be a little bit more dangerous.
Yes, you've mentioned before that you're focused on the long-term growth of your organization. How do you assess that rebuild, and where do you think that you guys will be in the next 1 to 2 years?
Yeah, I mean, we use the term in the mix to, coming into the season, and that's where we want to be. We haven't had the start we wanted, for sure. But lately, our team has played better, and I feel like with Laine coming into our lineup now, it's given us a little bit of shot in the arm, defending a little better, minus maybe the first period tonight. But I think we're seeing a lot of things come. You have to realize that there's a lot of players that we have that aren't here yet that are going to be really impactful players for us as we go forward.
Sometimes in the world of sport, as you know, it's hard to preach patience, but how would you even describe your relationship with Kent Hughes, how you're all working together to make sure you stay on this path?
Yeah, I mean, we're complete opposites, which I think is helpful, right? People laugh like you just did, but we have.
I'm trying to figure out what's opposite. Who's the crazy one? Who's the calm one?
I'd say he's a little more crazy. Like if you were watching our show about our rebuild, you would know. He's got bridge phobia. He's got some issues. I have less issues, right? So easier to handle. So no, we work well together. He's got a lot of ideas. He comes from a different background, being an agent than I have, being in hockey and a hockey exec. So it works pretty well. We challenge each other, and so far so good.
You talk about you being excited about what's coming up through the pipeline. Who are you excited about right now?
I mean, we have 2 first-round picks that have done really well from last year in Ivan Demidov in Russia, Michael Hayes, another first-round pick in Michigan who's done really well. And then in the minor leagues, we have like Logan Mailloux, we have a number of defensemen. David Reinbach are hurt right now. We have Jacob Fowler in goal at BC. There's a lot there coming. It's very exciting. We want to get some more wins here on our current team, and by the time these guys come here, hopefully they'll be ready to give us a shot in the arm.
I'd also love to know, because you've been doing this a long time in an executive position. Obviously, you had your time with the Boston Bruins, New York Rangers. What are things that you learned that you're bringing to this job now that makes you feel a little bit more confident in decisions?
Yeah, I mean, you talked about it earlier, is the patience of just the data. Sometimes, we get so emotional period to period, shift to shift, game to game with the wins and losses. We're preaching big picture. But it's hard for the team. Right now they want to win. The players on our team want to win. That's why they're in the National Hockey League. Our coaches want to win. They're playing to win. For us, for Kent and I, it's always about the big picture, and hopefully it all starts to come together pretty soon.
Well, you can see the fans are very devoted. They're loving it here. They're also loving the stories as well. Again, right, of Patrik Laine and Kirby Dach, because they know it, they appreciate it, and we appreciate you taking the time here on our set here on Amazon Prime. That is Jeff Gorton, the Executive Vice President of Hockey Operations for Montreal. And I got to know if you visited Schwartz Deli yet, right?
That's a mouthful, right?
It is quite the eating establishment. In fact, world famous smoked meat.
All right, there you have it. And Schwartz even got a plug. Pretty cool for them. All right. Schwartz's, that is.
I prefer Snowden Deli.
Really, eh? Yeah, you know what? I agree with you.
Send Gorton over there.
Yeah, I agree with you. Okay. There's a lot there. There's a lot there to the okay. Patrik Laine really gave us a shot in the arm. Yeah, no doubt about it. Marty's looking for a second line to get going so that he could take off some pressure off of Caulfield and Suzuki. Yeah, we know as much as well. Players want to win. Coach wants to win. They want to win. They're wired that way. Kent and I, we have to look at big picture. What is he trying to say by that? Is he trying to say that, yeah, we want to win too, but if we don't win, but we're doing the right things, not the end of the world, because big picture is it's not a sprint, it's a marathon?
I think he's trying to say we're not going to obstruct the plan that we put in place to get a few more wins here this season. I think that's the main takeaway there. But you know what? I'm kind of stuck on Laine. When Patrik Laine came to Montreal, my opinion on him was very simple. I knew he'd be productive. I didn't care that he only played 18 games last year, that he went into the program, that he was coming here with only getting on the ice 3 times in the summer, that it was going to take him time to ramp up his game. There was zero doubt for me that Patrik Laine would be productive. What I wanted to know, and to borrow this line from Martin St. Louis, who likes to use this often, is, was Patrik Laine going to prove that he's a hockey player, not just a guy who plays hockey? Because you look at his play in Columbus, and there was no other impression to take from it other than he was just a guy who plays hockey. And he could be productive as just a guy who plays hockey. What I like about what I've seen from Patrik Laine in his return, because believe me, nothing's perfect in his play at 5-on-5. There's plenty to fix between him, Dach, and Slafkovsky as a line as they try to figure each other out, which is a part of it. The other is, Laine coming off his injury, Dach coming off his, Slafkovsky being just 20 years old and having missed, half of his first season and not having all that much experience, despite the standard people hold him to. The thing that I like about Laine is the minute he got in front of the fans at the Bell Center in the preseason, his game went up several levels from what we saw in practices and scrimmages and training camp that would have made you say, uh-oh, this could be a problem. And the minute he stepped back on the ice after this knee injury and a long time away, he immediately was productive and brought his game up levels from where you would expect it to be coming off that injury. And he's talking about his love of the game and rekindling it in Montreal and how special it is to be a Montreal Canadien. And I really think that if this leads to Patrik Laine reinvesting himself into this game to prove that he is a hockey player and not just a guy who plays hockey, that'll be a grand slam for the Canadiens. It'll be great for Patrik Laine. It'll be a grand slam for the Canadiens.
For me, Patrik Laine was a hockey player, and I wasn't worried about that. What I was, and I, like you, knew that he was going to score goals, and I said the second that he came back that I don't remember last time I was this excited about a Montreal Canadiens power play, a power play that was going to ice Lane Hudson, Patrik Laine, Cole Caulfield, Nick Suzuki, and whoever else you want to put out there. It doesn't really matter. The question I asked myself was, in such a big market, such a pressure market, how was he going to be able to deal with the pressures of Montreal, where it's probably the most pressure-packed city of any city in North America to play hockey? The Montreal Canadiens with their, prestigious tradition, and Patrik Laine struggles over the years and ongoing struggles, much documented. He talked about his anxiety, talked about having to talk to his therapist. And I said that could be overwhelming for a lot of people. And I wonder how he's going to be able to deal with that. So far, so
learned.
Good.
Yeah.
So far, so good. And look, it bodes well. It really does.
I think it's more than good. I think he thrives on that pressure, and I think he needs that pressure to be the guy that you're talking about.
It bodes well. The guys look at him like he's the kingpin of the team. Like they're in so much admiration of him.
He wasn't a hockey player in Columbus. I'm sorry. He was a guy who played hockey and could score.
He was in Winnipeg
with his eyes closed.
I thought he was in Winnipeg.
In Winnipeg, he absolutely was. Yes, he was. Absolutely.
I thought he didn't play.
But that was 4 years before he came to Montreal.
Correct. I just don't think he didn't play inspired hockey in a market that was not a hockey market in Columbus when he was there. There was a lot that was dysfunctional when he was in Columbus. Now, I'll say this. I can't wait to see how things are going to unfold here. If Patrik Laine plays to his potential, he's got a deal that he makes $9.1 million in salary and pays him $8.7 million on the cap this year and next season. He's in the prime years of his career as far as age is concerned at age 26. If this is the most fun he's had, and look, and we're still a long ways away here, but I can't wait to see what happens. And, I'd love for Alex Kovalev to be able to have a chat with Patrik Laine one day. And I mentioned this on my radio show earlier this morning because Kovalev today admits that he made the wrong decision to chase the money and go to Ottawa, who gave him a better deal than the Montreal Canadiens did.
I think he would have admitted that 2 days after he arrived in Ottawa.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm going to reiterate it.
Yeah.
If what Patrik Laine is feeling right now, gets him to reinvest in what it will take for him to be the best version of himself night after night in this market. Because let's face it, he's not going to score a goal every game right now, not in the condition that he's in and what he's dealt with. But if this love of the game that's being rekindled pushes him to the level to work to be the best version of himself night after night next season, it's a grand slam. Like he'll end up being a superstar again. Yeah, they got this guy with a second round pick and traded Jordan Harris.
Yeah, he'll end up being a superstar again if that happens. And for me, that quote that he gave yesterday, this is the most fun I'm having in a long time. That's going to resonate around the league. I mean, Montreal is not a prime destination for unrestricted free agents. There are other markets like Florida, Tampa Bay, Los Angeles, Anaheim, Dallas, New York Rangers that are those destinations for that. And now who knows? Maybe a lot of players might be saying, you know what? Look at Patrik Laine. He went there. Look how happy he is, playing the best hockey of his career again, scoring goals again. He's smiling. Anyway, look, it's all pretty positive stuff. There's so much more to talk about, but you know what? I think we're good for tonight. I just thank you for taking the time. Once again, the Board of Governors meetings are finished. You just finished the long days of work. And so thanks so much. We'll talk to you soon.
Take care.
All right, there you have it. Eric Engels of Sportsnet and Sportsnet.ca. Marinaro, I want to thank all of you for watching. Leave us a 5-star review on Apple. It's our way of feeling the love. Tomorrow, we're slated to talk to our regular collaborator on Wednesdays, Craig Button, TSN hockey analyst and their director of scouting. Same time, same place, the Sick Podcast. Ciao for now.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. The Sick Podcast is brought to you by Energy Transportation Group, driven to be different. Bittt, embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination.